All right, so I'm really excited about today in this webinar. We have a special guest with us here, Nick Henney. He works with Antion and Associates, and he does some things for the school as well. But primarily, he works with the websites here. He does graphic design. He's been with Tom for over 7 years, so he really has a lot of insight on how we can safeguard our websites. Recently, there's been so many hacks that I've read about and um, some of them I've experienced from on my website, and I had to speak with some of the experts to get some information on how I can better prevent it. So we're going to talk to Nick today. We're going to ask him 7 questions that I've seen online, and then things that I've personally had. And you guys, if you have questions, I want you to go ahead and write them in, send us an email, and then we can get back to you on that. But hopefully we'll have all of them answered today. So we're going to ask him 7 questions, and then at the end I'm going to show you a quick tutorial from a WordPress security plugin that I use, WordFence, that you can use, and we can put in some usernames to help and prevent people from actually trying to log in with these specific usernames. So without further ado, let's welcome Nick Henney. Hey Nick.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
All right, so I did that introduction, and we're going to hop right into the questions because I can't wait to hear them. So
Okay.
the first thing that I want to ask is, I mean, a lot of times we have mentees to say, like, why should I care about being hacked? I'm a little guy. Nobody ever goes to my site. I don't have like a million, unique visitors visiting. Why would someone want to hack the little guy, quote unquote?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of websites out there. A lot of people are hosting, and it doesn't always have to deal directly with money or anything like that. So one of the first reasons is they don't do this so much anymore, but for fun. People used to like to hack just to show off that they could do it. They used to take your landing page, and they'd put kind of like a graffiti tag. They'd tell you who they were and what they did and stuff like that. And they would take down your site and replace it with their sign. And, it was just so that they could prove that they did it. Now, another reason might be to steal traffic or to get value to other sites. Links to a site from an outside site give value to the site being linked to. So if they're taking traffic from your site, anytime there's a link that goes to their site from your site, that's a point for them. So sometimes you may see, most of the time it's probably a hack where you're not going to be able to see what's going on. A lot of these links are going to be invisible or hidden in the code. Mm-hmm. But because Google uses the spider just to read the code, they're the ones who are seeing it, and they're the ones who are going to be able to tell what's going on. And that's how they would get the value.
So it's kind of like a backlink.
Yeah, it's kind of like a backlink that you didn't even know about. Like I said, it's been hidden in your code, and it heads straight back to their site, which they may be trying to sell something. They may just be trying to get the value of the site up so that they can sell the site. Not even trying to sell products, just trying to be sneaky about making money. Wow. So that's probably the most popular one. The one that's not so easy to find if you're just a regular person. Another one we have is they may be trying to steal your resources, since a lot of these are shared hosting, or some of them are virtual private systems. They could be stealing your emails or your databases or just your computing power so that they can do stuff. It's kind of like hiring out a labor force without having to pay them, in order to get done what they want. It's usually emails. Emails are going out to people. They're trying to sell something, or again, trying to get value for a site, or again, just running bots and stuff like that who are trying to get stuff done. Another one would be to spread software that steals information. So there could be Trojans that are uploaded to your site. Usually this is caught by Google pretty quick. If you've got that, Google will flag that you've got malware on the site, and stuff like that. So it's pretty easy to find out when that's going on. And that's like I said, they're trying to steal information, passwords, credit card numbers, email databases, all your contacts, stuff like that. Then another one would be they just want to, watch the world burn. They don't like you.
Wow.
You're a competitor. They just want to take you down. And stuff like that. That's not a very popular one, but that's one of the reasons. There may be other reasons, but those are they're going to be the major ones.
Okay. So is that the reason why? Because I know we had, I don't know if this is a question on here, but I remember at one time, um, Tom, you were working on that because a lot of emails were being sent from his server.
Right, yeah, and that could do a couple different things. We've got a virtual private server, and it was starting to eat up our resources so that our websites were slowing down, and our logs, just the memory of the storage of the computer was getting so high we had to go in and clean it out. So that was a learning experience for us, but it can grind your whole site to a halt. So that's an important one. You don't want to be letting them steal those resources. And if they're sending email out, your domain can actually be blacklisted so that you're not able to send out any more emails. So that's another important reason to make sure that they're not getting in there and utilizing your email.
Okay. So is that because that happened to me as well. So if I see that my resources are starting to get pretty high, then maybe I should check to make sure that no one no one is hacking it or no one is using it. Could that be an indicator?
Yeah, anytime that your site starts behaving differently than norm, something's going on. Either it's being hacked, or maybe you just had a sale and people are starting to come to the site. Maybe it's people are sending email through the background. It was a lot of emails. It was over 10,000 emails a day, I think, that were being sent out. It was pretty bad, but we were able to get through that and correct everything and move forward with it.
And last thing, so Google alerted you, or how did you find out again?
No, for most people who have a shared hosting, that's not really going to be a concern because the hosting company is going to monitor a lot of that.
Okay.
There might be some email stuff going on, but they'll be the ones to alert you to that. For us, when we have our own, it's a remote server, but it's a dedicated machine. It's dedicated to just us, and we have to manage it ourselves. It was then when the resources were starting to get eaten up that we first noticed it, is we were running out of space when we shouldn't have been running out of space.
Okay. So for us, little guys, we probably have a shared server. So that's refreshing to know that we will have someone who's looking out for us and will alert us to that and all that great stuff.
Right. Usually they won't say, hey, you're getting a bunch of stuff going on. They'll flag you for overuse of resources, and then it's kind of up to you to kind of figure out what's going on. But most of the time it's going to be something like that, email or database being eaten up like that.
All righty. All right, so let's move on to the second question. Now, this question comes from I was doing some stuff for Tom, and I needed to figure out or I was running an ad for a webinar that was coming up with a affiliate. And so I was looking at a site and trying to get some meta tags or just some keywords that would help me to run a Facebook ad. And when I went in there, all of those tags were changed. How can someone do that, first of all? And then why would they want to change the meta tags?
There's a couple different ways. If they've got access to the host where they can get into the file manager and actually edit files, they could edit tags in there, or it would be more difficult for them to do through just plain WordPress access if they've got a WordPress site, because they're going to have to log in with an administrator password in order to do that, and then there's nowhere where they can really hide that, especially if they're using like SEO tags or anything like that. So it would be more difficult for them to do it that way. Not impossible, but they could do it that way. But if they've got file manager access, they can actually go into your theme and change things, add meta tags and stuff like that. The reason they do that, although this is not going to be something that's really going to gather them a lot of value anymore, maybe 15 years ago, it would have worked. But Google doesn't use meta keywords as value indicators anymore. It's not a real what's the word? It's not a real strong indicator of what the content on the page is going to be, where it used to be kind of a roadmap of what you were going to find there. But people would have done it in order to grab those keywords in the search engine and to, again, just lend value when they were trying to steal traffic.
Okay. All right. So going back to what you said, if they are able to have access to your file manager or have your WordPress login, so would you recommend to continue to, as a safeguard, continue to change your password and make sure that it's safe?
So that if anytime that you notice that you've been hacked, you're going to want to change as many passwords as you can. Typically, it's going to be the file manager and the WordPress login. There's also a database, but I wouldn't be so worried about that. That's more difficult to get into and do any real damage in there. Those are the higher level hackers, and for a lot of the little guys, that's not going to be anything that they're going to be concerned with, because they're not trying to get just traffic. They're trying to do more malicious stuff, and they're not going to be able to do it with just little sites.
Okay. All right, so moving on. The next question, how important is it to back up your site just in case you're hacked?
I would say it's 100%. You should be doing it. There are a couple of reasons for it. Number one, with this shared hosting and even with remote hosting, that's one copy of your information and it's in somebody else's hands. So if something happens and it's gone, you have to recreate all that. That's on you. That's not something that they're like, oh, we just happen to have a backup. Most of the time they don't, because it's a lot of data that they would have to be backing up. Think of if they've got 100 customers and they have to back up everybody, they need twice the space, at least twice the space, in order to back up everybody. So it's kind of not really a way for them to continue to make money or as much profit. So it's really on you to go ahead and make sure that you've got things backed up. And there's a lot of good little programs out there that'll do it. Plugins in WordPress. You can even do it through the file manager if you wanted to do it manually. There's a backup icon in cPanel where you can go under and click backups, and then it has a backup for your database and then one for your files, and it gives you for each. So if you want the database, it gives you a compressed file for that, and if you want the files, it gives you a compressed file for that. So you've got all that right there. That's really easy to use and pretty easy to back up and restore as well if you needed to do that. But again, those plugins are going to be a great way for you to kind of forget about it, schedule it, let it go. Although it's probably better if you do manually do it every now and then, just to make sure that you've got something that is a good copy and not just let it go to chance. Because we've kind of done that before where we had something scheduled, it's running, and then we moved from one server to another, come to find out 6 months later that scheduling, that plugin was broken when we moved it over.
Wow.
So we lost 6 months of backups. Luckily we didn't lose any information because we didn't have a crash, but that's a scary thing to think that we didn't have something had we needed it.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So how often do you recommend changing your password? I know we spoke about that just a little bit.
Right. Passwords are a funky beast because they're in everything now. You've got your PINs for your bank. You've got passwords for email. You've got passwords for, if you've got more than one email. You've got passwords for every site that you log into. So, most people want to do just one password and remember that. But, that's really dangerous because if any one of those sites are compromised and you've got a unique identifier, first initial, last name, anything like that, or you commonly use the same user ID, which could be your email, then it's not that hard for them to go and test that in all these other different accounts. So if you've got the same user ID and password, then, all they have to do is find where your other accounts are, your bank account, stuff like that. And it becomes easier for them to get in there. But it is very difficult to change passwords. There are some places that say every month you should change your password. But that's a lot of brain power. So the easiest thing is to find a password manager. It's a nice little piece of software. You can get it on your phones now. You can get it on the computer. The one that I use is called 1Password. I have it on my Mac, and it's also on my phone, and it's linked up so that anytime I make a change on one, it's one central location where both the computer and the phone are able to access it. So I've always got it when I need it. And it is encrypted. Most of the time this is going to be encrypted. In fact, I would avoid the ones that are not encrypted. Encrypted is a way to kind of safeguard that information and make it harder to get into. And use that. I mean, because then anytime things change, you don't have to remember it. It's pretty easy to use. It pops up whenever you're going to the site. Or you can just go into the manager, look up the site, grab the information, and go. And you can have much stronger passwords than you would be able to come up with. 1, 2, 3, 4 password. No, that's not going to do it. But asterisk, lowercase p, 1, w underscore, all these things. And you can have longer, crazier passwords that you would never be able to remember or guess in a million years. But because you've got this password manager, it's right there at your fingertips and nice and easy to use.
Wow. Cool beans. Well, I actually use one of those, and my password is super long, but it's helpful.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is, when WordPress has a new version, which number should we pay attention to? I know I get kind of confused with this. It's like 4.7, 4.71. Should we wait until all the kinks are out to do the update, or download immediately because we need to be safe? Like, what's the deal?
Okay. So WordPress, the 4.7 is the indication that it's a major upgrade. The 4.71 is a minor upgrade. So major upgrades usually mean that there's going to be some sort of new functionality, which may not have been present, or they may phase things out, stuff like that. And the 0.1, that third digit, is usually with bug fixes and security vulnerabilities. So they're just trying to make sure that everything's working right, and everything is safe. So those are the ones you want to do pretty much immediately, because they're not changing anything big and heavy duty. They're just fixing holes and stuff like that.
Now say that again. The 4.71 is what you want to change immediately?
Yeah, anytime the third digit increases, that's what you want, because that's a minor security patch or a vulnerability update. So things like that, you want to do those immediately. But the 4.7, just the 2 digits, those are major versions, and there may be some breakage as far as, are the plugins compatible and stuff like that. It's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be that if you upgraded, fairly quickly, you would have big issues. But they're testing things out quite a ways away. So it's not just like, hey guys, the plugin people know that there's a new version coming before the version comes out. So they have time to test it, make sure that it works and stuff like that. Of course, that doesn't mean that they are doing that. There are some plugins that the people kind of sit on it for a little while and wait until it breaks before they have to go fix it. Mm-hmm. So that might be a case where you might want to wait just a little bit. We usually say, so that major release comes out, wait until the .1 comes out before you go ahead and upgrade.
Sounds good. All right. And I think this is probably just kind of similar, but just want to address it. But if I waited, if that came out, okay, hold on. 1 month to update my plugins, how susceptible would my site be to hacking? Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to say, how much traffic does the site get? What is the particular vulnerability? Should you be panicking that you didn't go update, a month ago? No, not necessarily. It's really just kind of the best or ideal practice to be doing that, because it would suck to, to have not updated and then go in the next day and be like, oh, well, there was something that could have prevented, this hacking.
Okay.
There is a lot of hacking going on, but a lot of it can be prevented with just a couple. You were going to talk about some plugins. A couple of good plugins will help prevent a lot of the hacking, and keep your site safe from the majority of people. The majority of people aren't these big hackers who are really trying to gather so many little sites. It's just more of an opportunity. They've got programs that can try to get into the sites, and if it's successful, then they utilize it. If not, they move on to the next one.
Okay, so which leads me to the next question. What security plugin do you recommend?
I find that WordFence is a really good program or plugin for catching a lot of that hacking activity. In fact, it actually does a couple different things. Just right out of the box, it's set up. There's some defaults on there that you can go in and change to make it more secure, but it's pretty darn secure just out of the box, installed and activated. It can block people. Let's say I decided to try to hack your site. If I go in and you've got WordFence set up, I try to put in user ID and a password, and if it doesn't like it, if it's not a good user ID or password, after a couple of attempts, I think it's 5. You can set it for a couple. It will block that IP for a short time, so I can't come back in and try again for at least 5-10 minutes. Now, let's say I did that again after 5 or 10 minutes, and you can set it up. I think the default is 3. If that happens 3 times, they block that IP. So I wouldn't be able to come back with this computer or with this bot trying to break in. I would have to go to another IP, log in from a different area, stuff like that, in order to get in. So that's really nice. It also has a log, so you can see who has logged in successfully, where they're from, what the IP address is, and stuff like that. You can blacklist IPs so that people can't come in. You can even blacklist countries. Let's say you didn't want anybody from China, trying to get into your site. They could do that. So that's a really good one. I like that one a lot. It also will check to see if any of your files, the WordPress core files or the plugin files, have been changed. It's got a repository that it can check against, and it goes and looks at your files, and if they've been changed, that's usually an indication that there's hacking activity, and it has some possibilities that you can do there. You can restore the original file or delete the file, stuff like that. So it's really good that way. There's another one that I like that I actually used to accidentally find that the site had been hacked. This is one of those where none of the WordPress files were touched. No other files were touched. It was actually content that had been changed. Secretly, somebody had logged in with a correct admin, had got in, and they changed some of the content, but they were able to do it in a manner that hid that content. Wow. Anyway, the plugin is called Broken Link Checker, and it's really designed to look for links that don't point where they're supposed to point, that don't go where they're supposed to go, and stuff like that. Because that can also be a value for search engines. Is that does if this link doesn't go where it says it goes, or goes to a 404 page, it kind of loses a little bit of value for you. So you want to make sure that your links all work, and that's a great little plugin to do that. And it also allows you to see all of the links that are going and do that. But this shows you 300, and let's say if you've got something where you see a couple of sites or URLs that are popping up that say GucciBags.com or something like that, and you know that you're not doing that, that's an indication that you've been hacked in the content of your site. It was kind of like an inside WordPress hack, but it's also good just to kind of check up on that too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nick. This was super amazing to get this information. And guys, we're not trying to scare you. pretty bad, but you should know this stuff. And if you don't, inform yourself. That's why we did this webinar today, so you can, arm yourself and then safeguard your websites. He spoke about a lot of different things that I want to show you. And I'm not an expert at all, but I had to learn this so that I can, keep my site from being hacked. So we're going to look at WordFence. I'm going to log into the admin and show you some tips and tricks. I think Travis showed me this, but because I was getting some emails saying that people were trying to log into my site. So I want to show you some different usernames that you can put in so that if they come and try to, log in through that username, then they'll get, I think they block you or something like that. But I'm going to show you some of the things that he was saying in the next few minutes. But again, thank you so much, Nick, and just thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Okay, so Nick did an excellent job sharing with us all of the different ways that we can safeguard our site. So now I just wanted to just show you what WordFence does and to just give you 2 quick tips that can help you. So once you're in your, you've already logged into your site, if you don't have WordFence or the plugin that you need to use, I will come over here to plugins, add new, search for it over here. So put WordFence, and then the first one, of course mine is active, but you can go ahead and install now. And then once you have it up, like Nick said, it's pretty much right out the gate, ready for you to use. You put your email address in there and they will send you alerts. You can decide if you want them daily or weekly or however you want that. I would suggest to do that daily. But what would happen is, and actually something will pop up right over here and ask you if you want to be alerted through your email. So that should pop up as soon as you activate it. But once you do, you would come over here to options, and like I said, we're only going to change 2 things. These are 2 of the things that I had to change for myself so that I could, sleep at night. Oh, and here we go. Email summary. So you can tell them, hey, enable an email summary. Tell them what you want once a day, once a week, once a month, which I don't know why I put once a week, but yeah, I would say daily. But let's see. We want to come down here to the login security options. And so enforce strong passwords. I have it on the force admins and publishers to use strong passwords, which of course if you're the admin, that's what it's going to be. Lock out after how many login failures. So I put 2 on here. Lock out after how many password attempts. Sometimes they'll keep going and keep trying to get in there. So 3 times and you're out. And then 30 minutes and 30 minutes is what I use for here. And then another thing that I had to start implementing, because once WordFence was showing me, what WordFence was showing me was that they were trying to log in as these different usernames. They were trying to guess it. So admin, of course, you never want to have your sites, you log in using admin, administrator. They were trying to go to my website. They were trying to use my name. So these were some of the things that they were trying to use. And if I were you, I would put this in to immediately block the IP of users. So once they put that in, they're automatically blocked. They can't come back. But that's pretty much it, guys, and I hope this was very helpful to you and that you would use this for your websites and safeguard them and be safe. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's really important that you keep your business standing, your blog standing. You don't want anybody to mess up any of your hard work. So I will see you soon. Bye.